Very good afternoon to you, Tracey. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, the release of matric results sometimes become a very difficult time for learners. Can we talk a bit more about why that is the case?
I think it's a time of mixed emotions, but by now, everyone has got their results. So they're either feeling exuberant, excited, moving on to the next level, or alternatively, they're probably dealing with a lot of disappointment, anger, a sense of failure. And I really would encourage those scholars and the family members to actually, contact SADC, because the earlier that you can get some support to help now set a plan B and sometimes even a plan C, it's going to be a lot more beneficial. Failure is a very normal and it's a very necessary path that we've all got to go through. And, you and I sitting here know that passing matric is only one very small step in the journey. But that being said, it's a vital step and it's very important. So we do need to be sensitive to the different emotions, the different feelings, and watch out for the behavior signs of those students who have not succeeded and are really feeling a sense of self-worth dropping down.
You mentioned a sense of anger and sense of failure. How does one cope with such?
I think it's a really good time, perhaps for family members or family units, to each give each other a little bit of breathing space, do some reflection. It's a hard lesson to say, okay, well, I failed, but you do actually need to look back with yourself and say, did I study? Did I prepare? Did I actually do my best? And that is where counseling and mentoring can often assist the individual, because otherwise your thoughts just spiral into this, I'm no good, I failed, I didn't do enough, and it really affects one's psyche. For parents who may be feeling also disappointed but angry because they've spent money on the education and now it hasn't fulfilled what they would have liked to have been. So there's different behaviors that are playing out. And I really would encourage the callers, the individuals where you feel that tension and that extreme pressure in your home, phone SADC. The counsellors have been well trained. We've got a lot of different referrals and suggestions to try and help the family units, the parents, and the scholars cope with what they're going through at the moment.
Yeah, and now Tracey, the pressure on learners to outperform themselves becomes so overwhelming to a point where it leads to anxiety or even depression among learners.
Yeah.
Is that the case?
Yeah. The ones that have actually succeeded, suddenly they could well be experiencing like, I know I'm going to university or some sort of tertiary education. They might even be moving into the job market. And suddenly, next week, they start getting hit with this overwhelming feel of anxiety, anxiousness, can even manifest in a panic attack. The fear of the unknown is also, it's a very normal part of growing up. But when your body manifests physically in something like a panic attack, I think that it is time where they need to say, okay, you know what, perhaps I do need to get some support, get some intervention. And if you don't know what to do, phone SADC.
Right.
It's our area of speciality, and the counsellors are very compassionate and empathetic to find a solution that will help you move on to that next phase of life.
So have you had an increase in the number of matriculants contacting SADC during this time?
We've certainly had an increase in number of calls, an increase in the number of SMSs, but that's also, thanks to the partnership with the media that we get. Yeah. Because all that we want to do is give the opportunity to people to say, you know what, there is a place that you can phone. And those people will listen to you, they will guide you, and they will give suggestions and referrals. We haven't, fortunately, at the moment had critical calls, and it's not always what we do. Just to often have somebody where you can phone and remain anonymous, which the callers can, and just have a person to listen to you. Very often we talk ourselves into a better space, sometimes ourselves, when you know that person on the other end of the line is actually listening to you. So we have had an increase in the calls, but nothing daunting that we couldn't handle, and we'll continue to be available to be able to take the calls. Okay,
just briefly, Tracey, do you also target tertiary students, because they're also susceptible to anxiety and depression as well?
Very much.
Yeah.
So, we have our 16 toll-free lines for those going into university, tertiary education, and are uncertain. There's so many different aspects. You know, you've been living at home for probably 12 years while you've been at home at school with your parents. Now you're probably going to university and you're going to be going, oh my gosh, I've got to go and live in res. I've got to do it all by myself. So there's so many factors to consider. And for each person it plays out differently. There are a couple of the universities across the country that we actually have partnership with, and we have dedicated student lines, crisis lines for those universities. But for any student who is experiencing some sense of overwhelming panic, they are anxious, and for those that are depressed, my message has to be, you know, there is hope. The sun is going to come up tomorrow.
And how do they contact you? How do they contact SADAG?
So one of our lines is 0800 567 567. It's our suicide crisis line. Our 24-hour helpline.
All right, please say that number again.
0800 567 567.
All right.
And our 24-hour line is 0800 12 13 14.
All right.
And there's a lot of information on our website. I really would encourage people to, you know, that we talk about these things and they go, that sounds like me, or that sounds like someone I know and care about. Go to the website, because a lot of this is about doing lifestyle changes to improve the fact that your mental health is actually taken care of.
Sure. All right, Tracey, great
Thank
chatting
you
to you.
so
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
That was Tracey Feinstein from the SA Depression and Anxiety Group. And remember, not just matriculants, it could be adults, it could be tertiary students. You may dial 0800 567 567 for all information relating to counseling and other issues relating to mental health. All right, let's move on to other news now. The pro-Mercado task team says there will not be a shutdown in Vuwani next week, as widely reported. The news of another shutdown started surfacing just before the end of 2016 following a heavy police in the area. An interministerial task team met on Tuesday this week to deliberate on the way forward. Now, the interministerial task team will then submit a proposal to the demarcation board, requesting the board to redetermine the boundaries of the new municipality. Vuwani residents are still resisting to be part of the new municipality that includes Malamulele. Last year, 29 schools were torched and others damaged in the area during violent protests.
The IMC on the 4th of January 2017 resolved that the steering committee comprising representatives from the pro-Mercado task team, traditional leaders, affected municipalities and corps must finalize the proposal to be made to the municipal demarcation board by not later than the 16th January 2017.
All right, that's it for now. Let's move on to our weather.